Hi, Josh.
Wild card line, you're on the air with Pamela. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to give glory to God and His Holy Spirit for touching the lives of Christians out there who listen to your show. And also, I have a question for Pamela.
Yes.
What gives these entities, or whatever they are, the right to interfere with people's lives?
Again, interference.
You know, people who are going through their life, you know.
Again, interference.
My husband doesn't think I'm having an affair. But they seem to, they make him think because of weird, extraordinary circumstances. I didn't always believe it, but
wait a minute.
Well,
wait, everybody, hold it for a second. Hold it. Caller, your husband thinks you're having an affair?
Yeah, and I would not, I would not.
Well, I understand
even
that, but
look at another man.
Well, maybe you should play this tape for him then.
What tape?
The one you're making right now.
Right now?
Yeah, on the air.
So why does
you wouldn't lie to Art Bell. He obviously doesn't believe you.
Why does he think this?
No.
No. Why?
Extraordinary circumstances in my life, like things happening at a certain time.
Like,
so you think you're having interaction?
That I may be leaving.
Like what?
Do you think you're having interaction?
Stop. Like what? Are
like
you? Are you having? And she's asking the right question. Are you having an interaction with another being?
I don't know. I have had, dreams, I remember from my childhood, but any interaction that I'm having right now, other than seeing UFOs in the sky.
That doesn't constitute an affair.
No, I don't think it does either. But other than UFOs in the sky, I don't remember anything except for weird events going around, and I can't possibly explain them.
Well, you must have told him something to make him think that.
Oh, no.
Nothing at all?
No.
So he's plucking this right out of the air, thin air.
I guess so.
Well, I guess listen to Leo Biscaglia and Carolyn Mace, and maybe that'll help you a bit. They're really incredibly self-empowering people.
East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Is this Art?
It is, yes.
Yeah, this is Maja from Jacksonville, Florida.
How you doing?
Yeah, I heard a while back you had an episode of Dreamland with vampires, about vampires.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm really sad I missed that one, because I would love to have called in and told you about the other side of the coin.
Which
werewolves.
Werewolves?
Yes.
I didn't know. Werewolves are the other side of the vampire coin?
Oh, yes.
How so?
We are sworn enemies of the vampire, actually. We don't like each other a bit.
What do you mean, we, Tonto?
Yes.
That means you are a vampire?
No, I am a werewolf.
You are a werewolf?
Well, what you would call a werewolf.
Well, that's fine. I mean, we won't play with words here. You're a werewolf. What does that boil down to meaning? I mean, what do you do as a werewolf?
Well, it's not much different than anybody else. It's just a cultural kind of thing. There is a little bit of physical difference between us and most humans, but
well, what is a werewolf? What's a typical day for a werewolf?
Just pretty much anything like a human. We lead pretty human lives. The only difference is
yes.
We have a little bit of heightened senses, and we
better sense of smell.
Try and stay away from vampires during the day.
Better sense of smell.
Yes, and we can see a little bit into the infrared area, and like a normal.
What about your teeth?
No, there's no teeth. Long teeth and
How about hair?
No general. We just look like everybody else.
Well, then, how are we to discern you from the average guy on the street?
Pretty much you don't. That's the idea.
Well, werewolves, though, I mean, they occasionally, they attack people and eat them?
No, that's
Old wives' tale?
Actually, it's vampire propaganda.
Vampire propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of a kind of a jealousy or a hatred or.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the most they can do to get us found out, or just basically get the general populace after us is a plus on their side.
Have you ever been identified by a vampire?
Actually, that's the interesting story, because just about 2-3 weeks ago, a guy came up to a friend of mine in school and pegged me and 2 other members of my clan as werewolves.
That's bad.
And he wasn't a vampire. Because he pegged 3 vampires that go to that school.
Well, I guess that's lucky for you.
Actually, it's
how can you know that he won't go to the vampires and identify the werewolves?
That's what scares me. This guy was not a vampire, but he was able to peg us and some vampires, and
well, think of his incredible bargaining position.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I have no idea what his game is.
Now, you said school. Are you in school?
Well, not me particularly.
Not you?
I'm going to SCCJ right now.
You're going what?
I'm going to the Florida Community College at Jacksonville right now.
Do they know they've got a vampire on board? I'm sorry, a werewolf. Excuse me. No?
No, it's generally not a good idea to going around telling everybody you're a werewolf.
You don't think the educational system there would respond well to news like that?
No, I'd probably get a request for counseling.
Well, have you considered that perhaps that might be a productive avenue?
Well, I have actually thought about that, because this is kind of weirded me out when I found out about it, because there's 2 ways you can become one of the breed, as we call ourselves.
And how does one become a werewolf?
Well, you're either born into it, or you have the spirit of I don't particularly believe in reincarnation, but I guess it's,
Well, listen, we're about out of time, so I need to know which is the case with you. Were you born into it, or?
No, my soul is the soul of an old werewolf.
Soul of a werewolf.
Yeah.
Bummer. Listen, I've got to go.
Well, I'm going to be sending you a letter soon. If
I'll definitely look forward to that, all right?
All right.
All right. Take care. Probably a hairy butt, huh? And Charlie Duke, 10th Amendment, Charlie Duke, Senator from Colorado, is now investigating the strange and bizarre State Senator Charles Duke. A skeptic when he first heard about the goings-on at Steve Lee's Black Forest home, is no more a skeptic. He now agrees something is amiss. Lee, 37, a former trucker, says most officials have ignored him when he complained his home is plagued with voices and odd smells. His van and truck polluted with chemicals. And armed people are entering a neighbor's doghouse. What? That's right. He says the problem is biological and laser weapons testing carried out by the federal government. There are things happening that defy explanation about his house, according to Duke. He has asked the FBI to investigate. He says, I went over there with a lot of skepticism. The GOP legislator was persuaded after he took some photos, get this now, inside Lee's home, even though he didn't see or hear anything unusual at the time, but was surprised when, guess what? One picture shows what appears to be a light beam, he said. Another one has cloud-like images of what is clearly a dog, and then a human face. Now, this is Charlie Duke. He said, it's really bizarre. I was shocked. I'm not a believer yet. But certainly there is something going on there. I don't believe in ghosts, and neither does Mr. Lee. He's just trying to get someone to listen to him. So I guess Senator Duke is indeed listening. Interesting, huh? Dear Art, I just heard you say that you believe Charles Manson to be an evil person. based on television appearances you have seen, try to consider that all televised interviews with Manson are carefully edited to make him appear to be crazy, evil, and so forth. I've spoken to Manson one-on-one for hours and hours and found him to be friendly, interesting, and respectful. Vincent T. Bugliosi has a vested interest in supporting the idea that Manson is a man to be feared. He has a book to sell, Helter Skelter. Truth is, Manson is a human being, like any other. And the false idea of him as a crazy, evil monster is nothing more than a myth. This myth was largely created by Vincent Bugliosi and is perpetrated by the media, yourself included. You and Bugliosi have too much to lose by allowing the actual truth regarding Manson to be known. If the truth about him and his actual lack of participation in the infamous Tate LaBianca murders became public knowledge, Bugliosi and the countless media vampires would lose the best thing they've ever had. That'd be a symbol of evil. And you would be left unable to spend an evening of glad handing with Vincent Bugliosi. I expected more out of you than to dismiss Manson as an evil person based on what you've seen on TV. You should know that most of what's put on TV is a lie, pure and simple. The fact that this eludes you reveals your own gullibility. From James in Seattle. Yeah, right, James. There are some things that even the editing floor of 60 Minutes cannot disguise, and that is the evil nature of Charles Manson. So I think if you think he's a warm and fuzzy human being, James, you are the one who has lost it. You are the one who is gullible. And I wouldn't know about your hours and hours of chatting with Charlie, but if you think this guy is a warm, fuzzy human being, then I don't know about you, James. And what he was able to project through that camera came through quite clearly. It's nothing that was achieved on the editing room floor of 60 Minutes. Don't you believe it? I swear, some people, unbelievable, just unbelievable. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hi, Art.
Hello.
I heard you on the air talking about Charles Manson.
Yep.
I have some info for you.
Do you think he's a warm, fuzzy human being?
No, not at all.
Do you hear the facts I just read?
Yes, sir, I did.
Incredible.
But I do have this to say about him, that, well, my father is now 61, and when he was a teenager, he was in a school for boys.
Mm-hmm.
And because he joined the Arkansas National Guard and got away with it for about 8 months before he got caught. And then he got caught and went to Gibraltar School for Boys. Well, when he was there, I've heard this story several times from my dad. One of his fellow, inmates was Charles Manson.
Mm-hmm.
And as a teenager, he always had a dictionary. And he was reading that book from, front to back. He was always studying the dictionary.
Yes? What is the point?
Well, the point is this, that he's although he may be evil incarnate, he's not to be dismissed as how can I put this?
Evil incarnate. Now, look, let's try the Limbaugh test on this, huh? Would you leave your daughter or son in a Motel 6 with Charlie Manson?
Not at all.
Have a good morning.
Good morning. You are on the air.
Oh, okay. This is me?
Only you know that for certain, but it sounds like you, yes.
Okay. Well, I'll try to be as fluid as you were with your story. Art, my story goes back about 20 years ago, and I was spending time with my girlfriend from college, and certainly wasn't allowed to sleep in the same bedroom as hers because her father was very strict, and so I had to sleep on the couch in the living room.
Good for her dad.
Yeah. And not to mention, her father was an auxiliary cop, and he kept a handgun in his nightstand. So there was always this thing about if he ever catches me in there, he's going to kill me, literally.
Uh-huh.
So long
he
story
probably
short,
would have too.
Yeah. So long story short is, one night I'm sleeping on the couch, and I look over her parents' bedroom door is across from the living room. There's a hallway, and then there's his bedroom. And all of a sudden, I thought I saw her mother getting up in her nightgown to go prepare him breakfast because he got up really early in the morning to go to the city for a job that he had down in the city. And I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to see, like, make out details of the way she looks, and like of her figure, and it was like transparent, so I really couldn't see her, the detail. And I realized that it was a ghost. And I was just like staring. I was rubbing my eyes, and I was, shutting my eyes and opening them and everything like this. And this was going on for like a couple minutes, and now I'm like petrified. I couldn't even move.
Yeah, it's like, come on, eyes, work properly.
Yeah, exactly. And so the ghost like sensed my presence there, and it actually was sticking his head through their bedroom door. And so that's the reason why I was having a hard time making out the details. And so when he turned around, he saw me, and it was this like bearded man with like a really funny hat, and he was yelling at me, but like there was no sound. And
you're saying that his head was actually sort of halfway through the solid door.
Yeah. And I realized this afterwards, like that's what he was doing, because I'll explain that to you in a second. So anyway, I got to the point where, I'm laying, I pulled the blankets over my head, and I'm just laying there. I can't stay here. So I ran into my girlfriend's bedroom, even though I knew I can get shot going in there. And I spent
well, that tells me how scared you were. I mean, you're risking getting shot rather than looking at whatever that was.
Exactly. So I told my girlfriend, and next thing I know, it's like getting close to dawn, and her mother's waking up to prepare her father breakfast as she normally does. And then I knew he was going to be coming out any minute. So he comes out, and he's in the having his breakfast, and all of a sudden I hear him say, "What is he doing in there?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And I said, "You got to go out there and tell him what happened."
Please, I'll hide under the bed. You go.
So now he's calling me into the kitchen, and I'm thinking to kill me. And he goes, "John, is it true that you saw a ghost?" And I said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, I believe you." And I said, then he started to explain to me that, like, for years he'd be getting dressed, looking in his mirror, and he would see something like in the mirror behind him, and he would turn around and it would disappear, and that this thing was like playing this trick on him for like years and years. So the fact that this guy, he's like a macho type, and that he admitted this to me, and it was pretty remarkable.
History or no history, had it been me, you'd have been dead.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Do you really think this is a good idea?
We've got to do it. The sun is going to get 2 to 3% brighter within a year.
Oh, you think so, huh?
No, I've been notified.
Hello? You've been notified?
You see, there was a...
Who notified you?
Well, it comes through God. See, I'm God's messenger.
So,
messenger 666.
This is... what about 666?
I am messenger 666.
Well, but that's the Antichrist guy's number.
No, the Bible doesn't say that.
Well, it says
the Bible
something
just
about
says
it.
I have the same number as what's going to happen.
Well, that's the mark of the beast.
Well, I have the same number as what's going to happen.
Are you the beastie?
No, not really.
If that is your number, then you are.
No. The Bible doesn't say that. It just says I have the same number.
Expect you to admit it.
Well, I'm the messenger boy.
The messenger boy.
I've been taking my information from the crop circles and giving it to the U.S. government.
Messenger 666, right? That's what we'll call you. All right, thanks. Yeah, I remember him now. He's the guy who has decided and has received messages from God via the crop circles about what's going to happen.
First time caller line, you're on the air. Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
I would like to tell you something that has happened to me about 15 years
Dear lady, I can hardly even hear you.
Oh.
Put your lips up to the phone and project. It happened to you 15 years ago. Where are you calling from?
Illinois.
All right, go ahead.
And I had been afraid to tell anybody because I didn't want them to think I had gone to a loony tootie, you know?
Oh, you can tell me.
All right. I got prepared for bed, and I went to bed, and I woke up, and I was in something. You know, I didn't know what it was at that time.
A ship. And
they aren't the way that people say that they were mean and cruel to them, you know.
They?
Well...
You mean the little guys?
Well, they were small, but they didn't have those great big eyes.
No.
They had large eyes, but they weren't real big like that.
Not overly large. What did they do to you?
All right. They told me, they didn't open their mouth or anything, but they told me not to be afraid. And I said I wasn't. In fact, I was very peaceful. It was a very peaceful thing. You know?
Kind of like when a dentist says, this isn't going to hurt.
It didn't.
Good aliens.
They brought me to a table, and they pointed to it, and I went willingly and got up on the table. And
see, now why would you do that? I mean, you know that aliens do stuff to people who get on tables.
I had no fear.
All right.
I had no fear. It was very peaceful, and they were very kind to me, it seemed like. I can't recall too much of it, but I remember I sort of looked out of some kind of window, and I remember seeing, the stars, I guess they were, and I woke back up again in my bed, you know, and I thought, well, I couldn't even remember what I had dreamed about that night. Normally, I remember, you know.
So then what do you think they did?
Well, I remember I would when people would come in or somebody and I would go to greet somebody or if I'd get uptight, I remember I used to put my legs very tight together and come stand erect, and I would keep my hands and my arms straight down to my body, but I would spread my hands out and sort of bow. And I remember my daughter saying, "Why are you doing that?" And I said, "Doing what?" I had no recall of why I was doing it then.
So then why?
Well, because it made me feel peaceful. And I recall that's the way that I greeted these people on the ship or wherever.
Well, I see. All right, well, maybe that was it. Sort of like Spock's live long and prosper signal, right? Abductee. Many people claim they have been abducted. I would not get on the table, though. It's like going to the dentist. When the dentist says, this may pinch a little bit, that means this is going to hurt like hell. Prepare yourself. Nurse, hold him down. When they tell you it won't hurt at all, it's going to be moderate pain.
Art, when I was about 10 years old, we had a female cat. The cat gave birth to 6 kittens. We didn't know what to do. Didn't know how to give the cats away. My dad came up with an idea. Halloween came. And when the little small trick-or-treaters came jogging by, the sacks were held open, and they were given a candy bar, and you guessed it, a small kitten. Halloween is only 7 months away. Love the show, Ron. Yeah, well, you guys are all right.
Let's go west to the Rockies and say hello there. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Corey. I'm calling from Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Yes.
I just wanted to, I got somebody, or just with Dr. Strassman earlier, and just talking about drug-induced experiences. I had a pretty crazy, I would almost call it a near-death experience, maybe, with Salvia divinorum. I guess it's probably lesser known, but
it's so much lesser known. I've never heard of it. What is it?
Well, it's a plant. It's a sage. It's of the Salvia genus or of the Salvia family, and it's been used by shamans in Mexico for hundreds of years, and I mean it's been used for those purposes. But it's supposedly the most potent psychotropic known to man, And anyways, like, I'll cut to the chase. Like, I had a friend that had done it several times and had some pretty crazy experiences, and I took one hit from a water pipe of it, and I don't even know how to explain. Like, it took me a while. Like, I don't know. The whole thing lasted probably, like, in this dimension about 10 minutes, but in my head it probably took several hours. But I took a hit, and I went to set the water pipe down, and I just felt an explosion, and it took me a minute to regain myself. And I don't know. It was. I would explain it like. I mean, I was totally in another time and another place. I went through the whole, I don't know, like fractal repeating images of myself and stuff. And then I totally relived some crazy moments from my childhood. Like, I was actually part of, I don't know, it was kind of strange. Like, I was seeing my mom talking to myself as a child, and she was just talking about, I mean, just repeating the same line, like, you kids don't know what you're playing with. And, like, I don't know, it was really weird. And it took me
Did it scare you?
Huh? It was very scary at first. Like, since then, I've kind of learned a lot from it and studied it, and I haven't really messed with that since then. But, yeah, it was very startling at the time.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that. That's the kind of thing that I'm interested in as well. And again, I know that these drugs that we're talking about, many of them anyway, I've never heard of that one, but a lot of them obviously are illegal, and for a very good reason. Nevertheless, it remains a legitimate area of inquiry for anybody doing a program of the type that we're doing. Entirely legitimate, because there may be answers there. I understand that in Western culture, we have placed a big no-no on all of this, and there are legitimate reasons for that. In the West, we pride ourselves on having a very great deal of productivity. And it's widely thought, and probably is certainly true, that drugs tremendously detract from productivity. And we don't want that. We can't have that, can we? We are a society that prides itself in, well, again, that word, productivity. That means money. And when you're not productive, you're just sort of a burden on society. So you can easily understand why society passes laws against this kind of thing. I don't think there's any law against inquiry about it, though.
East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm calling from San Antonio again, and I wanted to talk to you about Flight 800.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, there's always rumors that start... I hear an echo in the background.
So do I. That makes two of us. Just bear with it. Do the best you can.
Okay. Anyway, you hear rumors, you know, after a tragedy like that, and I heard two rumors that I thought would have probably been followed up by some additional information. One rumor was that there was a man that was on the plane before it took off, and he was told to get off the plane, and he was of Middle East descent, I believe they said. And they said he might have left something behind. And also, there were two men that supposedly rented a boat, you know, off of the...
Okay, well, let's take one at a time, all right?
Okay.
If there was somebody on the plane told to get off, then somebody is utterly not doing their job, because, number one, all the security occurs before you get on the aircraft, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. The magnetic thing you go through, and the scanning and the search of the bags, all of that occurs before you get on the airplane. So if he was on the airplane already, he should have been cleared. And if they had to kick him off the airplane, then there should have been something that would have caused the authorities to hold whoever that was. Wouldn't that make sense to you?
Yes, it would. But the thing is, you can take on, you know, carry-on baggage, you know, and
yeah, but they either look through or X-ray and more your carry-on baggage.
All of it.
And if they did find something that was in his carry-on baggage after he got on the aircraft, then the authorities should have held him.
Okay, the other rumor I heard was that there were two men that rented a boat, and they brought it back later after the explosion.
Yes, the FBI has been looking into that. They've had people swarming over that side of Long Island, interviewing people, trying to get information about that. And look, they've said themselves they know more than they are telling us.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They're not telling us the whole story.
Let me ask you, if there are men that are suspicious, why don't they put out some composite sketches where you know they could help with, you know, witnesses identifying?
Well, I think the answer is they haven't gotten to that stage. Thank you. They don't have anybody like that.
Or they would have certainly done so by now. Or at least one would hope they would have done so by now.
4 years ago, this coming November, I was dying of cancer. And some friends of mine, we have been seekers of truth, as you are, for a long time. Started off in Christianity. And we were talking about spiritual things. I walked into the bathroom, began to wash my hands, a strange place, but the whole bathroom lit up to the point that I disappeared in the mirror looking at my reflection.
Wow.
It was pretty incredible. I mean, it was a mind blower.
Well, I've had some pretty unusual bathroom experiences, but nothing to rival that, sir.
Well, I found out that God is within us, the last place I looked. But after that, a lot of strange occurrences. That started me on a journey. And this 4th of July...
Wait. You were in the bathroom, and you disappeared in a flash of light. Obviously, you had to, at some point, reappear. Where were you when you came back? Were you in a stall? Or?
Well, my knees turned to jello. No, I was standing in front of the mirror. And my knees turned to jello, and I said, "Is that you?" And he said, "It's me, son." And I said, "Well, can you turn down the light a little? It's kind of freaking me out a little bit." And he did. And he said, "I'm here to answer your questions."
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, the first one, then I began to doubt my own sanity at that point, Art.
I understand.
And I said, well, what's the meaning to life? And it was so simple. He said, I am. And he spoke from inside of me. And I realized at that point that God has always been inside of me. Well, after this...
But it took a bathroom experience to...
Strange place to meet God, isn't it? But after this, Art, I sat on the stool, and when I got up, there was blood and mucus that left my body.
Wow.
And there was no trace after that.
And then your cancer was gone?
It was gone. It was gone. And I found out who I am. As the Scripture says, Christ in you, the hope of glory.
That is a remarkable story, sir. That is a remarkable story. Really,
one more real quick one.
Well, I don't have time for one. Besides...
It's outstanding.
You're never going to top the last one.
Oh, yes.
No, you've got to quit while you're ahead. Besides, I'm at a break point here. I got a break. So I'm going to thank you for that. In your next call, you can relate. I mean, you're just not going to top that.
Got an awesome story for you.
All right.
Okay, back where I'm from, in Dickinson County, Virginia, there's a lot of rural roads, lots of curves and stuff. My wife's nephew, 5 years old at the time, lived with his family right in a big old curve back at the foot of the hillside, and a lot of coal was hauled out of there in 10-wheel and 18-wheel trucks. Okay, the child had been waking up in the middle of the night, coming to his parents and telling them there was a little girl in his bedroom. And they kept saying, oh, don't worry about it, you know, there's nobody in there, you're just having a dream or whatnot. And countless times he kept doing this. They never heeded to it, never checked, just, you know, telling me he was having a nightmare and going back to bed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, one morning, about 6 a.m., they hauled coal quite early that morning. He come into his mother's bedroom and said, the little girl told me I better come sleep with you. And she said, now, Cody, go on back to bed, everything's going to be all right. And he wouldn't go back to bed. He refused to, so she let him sleep with her. And swear to God, 10 minutes later, a coal truck skipped off the curve, crashed right through his bedroom, and did about $10,000 worth of damage to their house.
Oh, my God. I believe these things do occur. There's no question about it. It's precognition. It's a guardian angel. It's whatever you want to call it, but it does happen.
Yes, it does.
And anybody who denies it is just flat out wrong.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your call, sir. Bristol, Tennessee. These warnings do occur. Some people will say it was my guardian angel. Some will simply call it precognition or a psychic insight, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. These things do occur. It has happened to me one time. That's all. My whole life, once. But there was no question about it. It wasn't an iffy situation. I knew. I saw an event, and I knew an event was coming before it occurred. In fact, it was like, the only way I can describe the feeling was, it was like waves washing over me. Irresistible, strong, and they continued to get stronger until the event occurred. I mean waves, just washing over me, one after another, telling me this was about to happen. I've told this story a few times on the air. One of these days I'll tell it again. But these things do occur. You put whatever name on them you want.
Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Kim in Provo, Utah.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, I was calling about the dimensional slip.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'll try to make this quick because my battery on my cell phone, I don't know how long it's going to last.
Okay.
But back in 1987, I was in Los Angeles, and I was fairly new there, and I had some acquaintances that needed a ride, take their daughter to a hospital in the evening one night, so I took them, and I wasn't familiar with the downtown Los Angeles area, and I had started having some strange experiences, and so strange that it kind of made me freak out. I kind of said a prayer and felt that I really needed to leave. Too many strange things were happening.
Well, give me an example. What do you mean, strange experiences?
Well, it didn't seem like a hospital, first of all. There was a tower around it with a barbed wire fence and a lot of steps you had to go up into it. There wasn't very many people. There was no nurses or doctors. There were no signs that said it was a hospital. I just didn't feel right about it. Plus, some very anomalous things started happening. It just kind of, I'm sensitive anyways, so I started picking up some energies that I didn't feel that this was a very safe place to be. So I prayed about it, and I felt I really needed to leave. And I left. When I went out of the building, I was in a different place. And I could see Los Angeles. I could see it downtown. I had a good view. And when I saw that I wasn't in my normal place, the buildings didn't look right, the city didn't look right, nothing looked normal. And it looked like a whole complete different city with raised walls around Los Angeles and this big raised freeway that was not normal. It just looked strange, and I thought I had died, and I started to cry. And
okay, we're almost out of time, and you're almost out of battery. So how did you get out of it?
Well, this guy, one of the acquaintances came running up, and he said, "Take my hand, and you'll be able to see your car." And I said, "I can't see the car." And I took his hand, and I took a step towards him, and then over his shoulder I could see the car. And I had stepped in this oval-shaped walkway.
Okay, listen, we're absolutely out of time. I'm sorry, we've got to go.
I'm just calling to relate an experience that I had with you. I'm 26 now, and when I was about 20 years old or so, about 6 years ago, I was doing LSD quite often. Not every day type of thing, but once in a while for recreation. And I used to experience psychic intuition when I was under the influence of LSD.
You mean you could discern things that were going to happen?
Yeah. For example, on one experience, I was in a great big shopping center, a big urban shopping mall, and walking through the mall under the influence of LSD, I could tell what people were going to before they would act on it. I could tell.
You broke up a little there. You could tell what people were going to what?
I could tell what people were thinking and what people were going to do. I could just look at people and tell that they were going to, say, for example, stop and look at a certain article of clothing, or that a man and a woman that were walking along in the corridor were going to get into a fight or an argument or something of that nature.
Really?
Yeah, it was quite interesting, and there's been other times where I can't hear what people are saying to me. If for example, I'm in a vehicle, I can't hear the driver talking to me, but I can hear everything that's going on outside the car. I could hear dogs barking, or I could hear horns honking from distances away, and but yet my friend would be talking to me, and I couldn't hear a word that he was saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, who am I to say that is not so? And that's why I think I said that certainly we're not advocating that anybody use any drugs. No way. They're illegal, and therefore you should not do it. However, in view of the subject material that we discuss on this program, certainly drugs have got to be considered one possible, underline the word possible, path to attaining some of the experiences. Again, we come back to the word reality, right? What is reality? I mean, that's worth a whole program all by itself, isn't it? I wonder if we all perceive things exactly the same way. I think the answer to that is a clear no, we don't. So that may be one path to things that otherwise cannot be explained.
One of the things that I used to do in the 70s was use psychedelics with Wicca and witchcraft ceremonies. We did it literally hundreds and hundreds of times. We would channel spirits, and a lot of people would say that it was a LSD-induced experience, but the thing with LSD, the hallucinations, you know you're hallucinating. They're not like, it's not like the kind of thing where you can't say, okay, I'm seeing the wall breathe, but I know it's from the drug. There was other things that would happen that would be beyond explanation. Like I'm trying to think of one example that would be kind of interesting for the listeners. There was a friend of mine. I
thought the one you just gave was interesting enough. You said you saw the wall breathe. Well, how do we know that is not in that state actual reality? I mean, right, it doesn't seem like a wall would breathe, but if you've slipped into another dimension where the physics and the laws of physics are not quite the same, who's to say that a wall doesn't breathe? So the point I'm trying to make is that perhaps in another dimension, a wall does breathe. Stupid as that may sound.
Well, check this out. There was a friend of mine that we were channeling spirits, and we shined a flashlight. We were by this creek out in the wilderness. We shined the flashlight down on the ground, and we turned the flashlight off, and the round spot where the light was shining on the ground was still there. And we would stick our hand in it, and it was almost like there was a light coming from the sky, and we'd stick our hand was lit up, we'd pull it back in the dark, and we just sat there fascinated, like, this is not real. And we would walk away, and it was dark, it was at night, and like you could see through the bushes, the light. The further you got away where you couldn't see it anymore is because the trees and the lights would cover it. But as you would get closer, you could see off in the distance this light on the ground. It was in the exact same place, and we went back over to this light, and we put our hand down, and it was an illuminated spot, and it wasn't a hallucination. We're looking up in the sky going, what is this? And we just could not figure it out. And to this day, it boggles my mind. But to express some of the legitimacy of these experiences, some of the visions that I had, I was actually interviewed by a homicide detective, and I helped them track down a murderer. And I've been interviewed by the FBI. And
so then you're some sort of intuitive then.
Yeah, there's some real experiences that took place, and I haven't done drugs in years, and there's a difference between the methamphetamines and the cocaine and stuff like that and the hallucinogenic drugs. The hallucinogenic drugs it seems to open your mind up to a spiritual, kind of a spiritual plane, where the other
that's it though. Does it really do that? That's the big $64,000 question. $64,000, I guess, in the modern world isn't really that much money, but it is the metaphorical $64,000 question. Does it really open your mind to some other reality, or is it simply a distortion of the universal reality, the reality that we all experience? In other words, if you go up to coasttocoastam.com, you look at the picture of my living room that I took, just so people would know what it looks like here. Do you all see exactly the same thing or not? There's really no way to tell, is there? Unless I get a number of descriptions from it from many of you, and they come out very differently. So just for fun, why don't a few of you go up there, take a look at that photograph. It's just an incidental photograph that I happen to put up, and describe to me what you see. Do you think there'll be universal descriptions? Do you think everybody will see exactly the same thing? Not necessarily.